Many of you watching this video are looking to purchase either some land or a home on Lake Norman. I'm going to give you 7 things that you need to know before you purchase, and that's coming right up. My name is Eli Maggots, and I'm a real estate advisor here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the surrounding areas of Charlotte, including South Carolina, specializing in luxury homes, custom homes, and new home construction. But most importantly, I'm your realtor with heart. I'm not here to try to sell you a house, but here to help you find a home and a lifestyle that you and your family are going to love. Think we're a good fit? Contact information is down below. So if you're looking for a lot to build a house on the water in Lake Norman, there are a bunch of things that you need to know. If you are purchasing a home on Lake Norman on the water, there are things that you need to know before you purchase. I've got 7 of them for you, 7 things to know. Here we go. So Lake Norman is a man-made lake. It was a dammed up river, still is a dammed up river, of the Catawba River, dammed up by Duke Energy. Duke Energy controls pretty much everything on Lake Norman. So there are a bunch of rules and things that you need to know about. Number 1 is the 760 line. 760 feet above sea level is the largest or the highest amount of water that Duke Energy can release into Lake Norman. That 760 feet above sea level will impact everybody's property differently. If you have property on Lake Norman, wherever the water goes up to at that 760 line, that full pond line, is the line at which you cannot build from. That 760 line on your property is the line from which you must move in from that line 50 feet before you can do any kind of building. This will affect you putting in a pool. This may affect you putting in a dock. This may also affect the area where you have to put in your septic system. So a couple of quick examples. Let's look at this beautiful diagram that I've drawn out. This black line is your lot line. Lot line all the way down here. Lot line all the way down here. These are your setbacks where you have to have your house in a certain area, set back from either side. Your front setbacks, side setbacks. 2 examples. Example number 1. This is your lot line. This is the black line right here. Example number 1, the 760 line, the area of highest water could potentially be over here. So you can see how it's encompassing or encroaching over your property line. So the 50 feet from where this water line encroaches on your property is an area from which you cannot build. In addition, there's a vegetative zone buffer 50 feet from this 760 line. So you cannot take down any vegetation. You cannot take down any trees. So that's the 50-foot vegetative buffer line. You can't cut down any trees, bushes. You can't put a pool there. You can't put a septic system, blah, blah, blah. In example number 2, it gets a little bit worse on encroaching the property. Example number 2. In example number 2, let's say the 760 line, water level goes all the way over here. So instead of the water level being over here and just encroaching a little bit on your lot, this is actually your lot, but this water level is encroaching all the way up on your lot. You cannot build from 50 feet from this line right here. So your buffer would be right here. This would be the buildable area of your lot. So it's not where the water comes up, but it's 50 feet above that 760 line. All of that is controlled by Duke Energy. Number 2, if you're purchasing a piece of property and it happens to be in a cove, like over here's a house, over here's a house, over here is a house, over here is a house, and you're in a cove and you want to build a dock, a pier. There's a pier projection line. So you have a certain amount of space to which you can build out your pier. Now you can't interfere with the pier from this lot over here, and this lot over here, and this lot over here. So everybody has to be very clear as to where they're allowed to build the pier. Sometimes you have to ask your neighbor if they're going to allow you to encroach on their space from which you are going to build your pier. So this is very important information. If you're buying a piece of land, you need to know where your pier projection line is and to see if it interferes with your neighbors. If it does, you can ask them for permission and easement, but it's best not to have to ask your neighbors for an easement to put in a dock. Point number 3, now I'm inside the lot. Okay, still haven't changed. Let's say you're purchasing a piece of property that is lakefront on the water. You need 100 feet of shoreline in order to put in a dock. That's Duke Energy's rule. 100 feet across you need to have in order to be able to put in a dock. If you have 75 feet, if you have 79 feet, if you've got 86 feet, no dock will be permitted by Duke Energy. So you're going to need 100 feet across in order to put that dock. No 100 feet, no dock. Now these are the new rules. There may be a piece of property that may be grandfathered in. If there's an old home on the property and you knock it down, there may be a grandfather rule, but this is something that you need to be aware of. Tip number 4, covered area. 1,000 square feet of dock is allowed to cover the water as per Duke Energy. So for instance, this is your pier going from your house. You can walk down your pier and you get to your dock. You are allowed to have 1,000 square feet maximum that your dock can cover over the water. This is, let's say, a covered roof over here where you have your boat or your jet ski. 1,000 square feet max. So if you're purchasing a home and you think you're going to blow out a giant dock and pier, you are only allowed to build as far as 1,000 square feet maximum over the water. Tip number 5, this one is very important if you're buying a resale home on the water. Permits for the shoreline activity are run by Duke Energy Lake Services. They're in charge of the shoreline of Lake Norman. When you're purchasing a resale home, you need to ask the seller for a pier permit and their application. The structure that is there currently when you purchase the home has to be the same structure that was there when they got the permit. You're not allowed to change anything of that structure without Duke Energy's permission. So the seller is the only one who can actually get that permit for you. So when you're buying your house and doing your due diligence, you need to get that permit to make sure that the structure that is there currently is the same structure that has been previously permit. The permit, again, only goes to the seller, must be the same. The structure must be the same. Every time you purchase a home with a dock on the water, you have to change the name of the person who is on the permit. So you would have to put in an application, apply for the name change once you purchase the home. Any changes to the dock will have to be okayed by Duke Energy. So tips number 6 and 7, survey. You need to do a survey if you're buying any house, but specifically a house on Lake Norman, so you know where your property starts and ends, where your setbacks are, and that all-important 760 line is. You have to find out where your property starts. If it starts under the water, you have to know that you have to move up. So a survey, very important for pretty much every house, unless it's a new construction and they give you a survey. But on Lake Norman, super important. And my last tip number 7, is to know how much pervious versus non-pervious area you have on a lot that you want to build. Pervious means that rainwater can go through, is protecting the watershed. Non-pervious means areas where water can't go through. So if you put a concrete driveway on an area that needs to be pervious, if you build on it, you may have to rip it up. So it's important to know pervious versus non-pervious space on the lot that you are building. Only a certain amount of the lot can be built upon so that water can get through. You might have to remove part of a building or a driveway, or you can buy a neighbor's property, part of their property that is pervious, in order to cover yourself. If you're looking for Lake Norman property or any kind of luxury property here in the Charlotte metro area, whether you're building new or pre-existing, and you think we're a good fit, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching. Until next time.